guys, what's up? It's Morgan and Angie from The Shift, and today we are talking more about feeling suppressed around your friends and your family. And we have a really powerful question we want to ask you guys. And I really want you to just really get in tune with this question. If you could interact with your friends and your family and you knew that they wouldn't reject you, they wouldn't judge you, they wouldn't get their feelings hurt by you, how differently would you act? And really just sit with that question. If no one was criticizing you, judging you, hurting you, rejecting you, no one was getting their feelings hurt by you, what would you say or do differently than you're doing right now? This is a really powerful question because this is demonstrating exactly how suppressed you really are feeling by your friends and your family right now. And again, not blaming them, but the fact that there's probably a pretty big gap between how you act right now and how you would act if there was no criticism and no judgment. That gap is a big deal. That gap is costing you a lot.
When you first asked that question, Morgan, it immediately took me back to a conversation that I had with my daughter, Maddie. And this has probably been a few years ago. And I just remember we were having a conversation about her feeling bad about herself and just feeling somewhat rejecting herself. And so I said to her, well, if you were on a desert island, Maddie, would you feel the same way? Would you have this shame and this suspicion or doubt that you're a bad person? And she thought about it for just a second or two, not very long at all. She's like, no, I wouldn't have any of that. I wouldn't feel bad at all. And I said, isn't that interesting? And that helped us to realize that the shame of feeling like something's wrong with me, I'm a bad person, I'm not enough, that shame was coming from a perception she believed was coming from others. Her belief was people are judging me. They're seeing me for not being a good person or not being good enough and all of that. But if you take all the characters out of the story and you take them off the island and now it's just you on the island, everything changes. So it's kind of ironic because we think, well, wait, is the bad feeling coming from them or is it coming from me? Mm. And really it's coming from our perception of what we think others are thinking about us. That's still coming from within. It's kind of tricky. It's still coming from within, but yet when we take the characters out of our story, we do feel differently about ourselves. And that just tells us that the shame is being triggered by what we believe others think about us.
Yes. And I want to add to that because you might say, wait a second, no, my brother, he really does think bad things about me. He's said these things to me, but still this comes from within because what if your brother had said to you, you're a murderer? You would probably laugh at it. You'd be like, wait, what? Like, I'm not a murderer. And because you don't believe you're a murderer, it doesn't offend you. Mm-hmm. Now, if you believe, oh, I'm not a good mother or something, underneath, if he were to say something about your parenting, it would cut very deeply.
Right.
See, if you feel really good about yourself and who you are as a person, then even if he does think badly about you, it doesn't bother you so much. So even when it really seems like it's about them, it really is about you.
A few weeks ago, I was talking with my husband, Steve, and I think I mentioned this, but it's just worth renoting. He said something to me, and basically it was like, well, couldn't I spend more time with you? Like, can we schedule something or do something? And it wasn't that benign in how he phrased it. Mm-hmm. But whenever I heard that, it was an implication that I wasn't spending enough time with him. Oh. And the perception that I had was I immediately went to shame. Like, I'm not prioritizing my time well. I'm going to have regrets like I did with Maddie, my late daughter, Maddie. Mm-hmm. And so it brought on all this shame. that I'm somehow not a good person, that I'm selfish. And so that was a similar thing. He wasn't trying to say that at all. He was wanting to set time with me, to spend quality time with me. But that part that I believed, this is what made me think of it,
Yeah.
Morgan. You were saying that we will, if we believe something about ourselves, we will take that on, even though it's not really the truth.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that example. That is so perfect. Like,
Yeah.
because how often do we get triggered by something that had no ill intention whatsoever? So just bringing us back to this whole concept of like, how differently would you really act if you were not worried about what other people think of you, or getting rejected by people? And our tip for you today is just to notice that gap.
Right.
And again, noticing that gap of how you act right now versus how you would act if there was no criticism, no judgment, no rejection, whatever. And just getting present with that gap. And then asking yourself, what am I afraid of happening if I start to take action in ways that like feel like I can't right now, right? If I start to get closer to this version of me that exists with no worries, right, of other people's reactions. And as you get present with that gap and you start to understand, okay, what am I afraid of happening? And then ask yourself, so for example, I'm afraid if I tell my husband that I don't like watching this TV show, that he's going to get mad at me, right? Or reject me or whatever. And you know, maybe that's a trivial example, but you can apply it how it works in your life. So if you say, okay, maybe I'm afraid to speak my opinion about this TV show, and I'm afraid he's going to reject me. And then you ask yourself, is that really true? Is he going to reject me if I tell him I don't like this TV show? Now the answer could be yes, but more often than not, our fears make things way bigger than they really are. Our fears really do. Now, if the truth is, if someone really is going to reject you because of you being more authentic and being more you, then did you really want that person in your life anyway? Because when it comes down to it, the people that are in your life, they genuinely probably care about you. And if they really care about you, they probably want you to be your best you, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Maybe they don't understand it that deeply yet. But yeah, so our tip for you is just, you know, get present with that gap and just start asking yourself, if I stand up for myself, or if I say this opinion, or if I do this thing, am I really going to get rejected, or is what I'm afraid of really going to come into fruition, or am I blowing this up bigger than it really is? Angie, any other thoughts before we close this down?
The tip is just about curiosity, right? Think of one opinion that if you asked, or if you shared that opinion, that you're afraid that you're going to get rejected for that. Just start asking yourself that question.
Yeah.
Get present to the gap.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Me and Angie are so passionate about helping people learn how to go from feeling suppressed over to feeling free to be you. If this message resonates with you, please feel free to reach out to us for a free strategy session on how to go from suppression over to expression. This strategy session will give you some amazing tips on how to improve your life right now. And it will also see if you're a good fit for our group program, The Shift, from suppression over to expression. We so look forward to hearing from you guys. This has been Morgan and Angie with The Shift, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye.